For this month, I've been posting a new video every day that includes some kind of tip related to Mac OS. And in today's video, I want to show you a couple apps that you have access to because you have a Mac. And this isn't necessarily something that's built into Mac OS, but they are included apps. And I don't want to do a deep dive into any of these. I just want to show you that they exist and make sure that you understand what they are used for. Some people start using a Mac and they start using a specific app and then they never look around to see what else is there. So the three apps that we're going to look at in this video are Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. This is known as the iWork suite as well, formerly, because you used to be able to purchase these apps as a bundle with iWork, but now they're free, they're included. So what are they? Well, if you think of on the Windows side with Microsoft Office, which you can get for Mac too, you have Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and PowerPoint. And that's kind of what these apps are. So the first one is Pages, which is similar to Microsoft Word if you're using that. And it's a word processing application. So it's nice. It's a great application for typing up a document. And when we open the app for the first time, you're going to be presented with this screen so you get an idea of what this app can do. And at the bottom, we get an option here that says View My Documents or Create a Document. So let's say we're brand new to Pages. We're going to create a new document. And when we do that, we see the template chooser. And this is a really great area for you to see what you can create and kind of get an idea of the possibilities that you have. So on the left column, we see various template categories. And then on the right side, you're going to see the template itself. So if you're just looking to type up a document, you could start with a blank document. You can also do a blank landscape if you're looking to create a different style or different type of document there. But that's the basics. That's just for getting started. You can also go through and create reports. And these, don't be fooled by these little thumbnails that you see here. These templates include multiple variations to the way the pages are laid out. So these templates are great starting points, and we're going to see in a second how you can customize those. So in addition to be able to create a report, if you're in school or another area, you can go through and create a book. And these books are something that you could go and publish to, say, the Apple bookstore or another area. So these are book templates that are great for writing up books and getting started in that area. So if you are someone who maybe you're thinking about writing a book, you don't know where to start, you can actually use Pages to start with one of these templates, design your entire book, write the whole thing, edit it. You can do everything in Pages, even publish it to the Apple bookstore. So very cool that you can do that all in here. We also get different formats. So these aren't just for printing on standard 8.5 by 11 or whatever the standard paper size is where you're at. You can also go through and customize those. So you can create things like envelopes, newsletters, flyers that are very large format. If you're going to post these somewhere, you have a lot of options inside of Pages here. So go through here, check them out, see what you have as some of the options to get an idea of where to get started with these. I'm actually going to go through here and select one of our reports just because I want to start with these templates just to give you an idea of what's possible. So we're going to do the visual report here. I'm going to double click on that template to open it. And here we are inside of Pages. What you're going to find is Pages, Numbers, and Keynote are all laid out very similar in a similar fashion. They have a toolbar at the top here, and you can control click or right click on this toolbar if you want to and say Customize Toolbar to see all of the buttons you have access to. So if for some reason you don't see something at the top here that I'm seeing here, you can find it in this list. Just click and drag it up to the toolbar to add that button. So that's the toolbar, and you can do that in any of the apps. We also get a view button here, so I like to show the page thumbnails when I'm working with this. So in this case, this template is 2 pages. I can jump to the second page. We can even rearrange these. If they are a larger document, you could do that. And I'm not going to dive too deep into it. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. You can click on the placeholder text here to make changes to it. We have a header and a footer at the bottom. In this case, the footer, they went up to the menu bar here and said insert a page number. And so now every single page that we create with this document is going to have a page number automatically updated. So as an example, I'm going to add a new page. There we go. We have page 3 here, and it automatically put in page 3 for us. So pretty simple, nothing too complicated there. And that's what makes Pages really nice. And all of these apps, they're very, very easy to use and to work with. So that's cool. If we didn't want this page, I can select it and hit the delete key. Because I sure want to do this. I do want to delete those too, so we get rid of that. And now we're back to the initial page here. So the next thing I want to show you is just working with media. If you think of the past videos, we looked at how to access photos from within Final Cut Pro. You can do that here with Pages. Just select one of the images, and you're going to see options to customize it. But we can go up to the top here, hit Media, go down to Photos, and now we're accessing our photo library. You can see all the Fortnite photos there from the earlier videos. If I wanted to use one of these, I'll just click and drag this in, and we're adding it into those placeholders. So that's an overview of Pages. We do get some options to customize the document paper size. There's a lot of things you can do with this, including the ability to collaborate with others, which if you're not doing that, I recommend that using iCloud. So that's an overview of Pages for creating documents, posters, other things that you would print onto paper. And actually, one other thing I want to show you here at the top, there's a share menu. So you can go up to share here and send this out to export it into these apps. Or you can go file, and we have an option to export it into, say, a Word document. So if you are collaborating with others, you can use that format. You can also use Pages to open Word documents. And then here's that newer option to publish right to Apple Books. So that's a look at Pages. Let's switch over here. Let me close this document out. I'm not going to save it. And we're going to look at Keynote here. So if you have used Keynote in the past or any of these apps, you're going to see this screen of what's new when you update to a new version. And this will give a couple highlights of the new features, but you can hit this complete feature list button, and that'll go to the website where it gives you a really detailed list of everything they've changed in the various versions. So as you're using this, any of these apps, this is a way for you to get updated to the latest version. So in this case, we're going to want to continue into Keynote here. It gives us our documents, so we can go and view and open one, but in this case I'm just going to create a new Keynote document, so I'll hit the new document button. And Keynote is similar to PowerPoint if you've used that for creating presentations. So here we go, we see a list of the templates, very similar to what we saw in Pages. You do have an option for standard presentation, which you can see this is more of like the square screen size. If you think of older televisions that were not widescreen, that's what this is. And then we have an option here to choose widescreen as well. Now, with presentations, usually you're going to be presenting these either on a computer screen or maybe through a projector or another form. So a lot of people ask me, should I choose standard or wide? That really depends on where you're going to presenting this presentation. So if it is something that's on a projector or a TV screen, something like that, find out if that screen is a widescreen or if it's standard, and then you can select your presentation template here based on that. For me, I find most of the things I'm creating for video, which tends to be widescreen, so I'll choose one of the wide templates. And just like the other ones, you can scroll through and find out all the different templates, or if you want to use one of these, just double click on the template, and it's going to load that. Now, similar to Pages, what we saw there, we do have the toolbar at the top, and you can go through to add things and create things. But on the left column, we see each of our slides. And when we hit the plus to add a slide, these templates include many variations of the type of slide. So this first slide we have here is a title and subtitle. Very straightforward. You probably type in what the item is you're trying to present on this first page. And then we can go select the next page. So if I want to do a title bullet point, I'll go and select that. And now it's laid out the page. We can see the photo on the left side, and it's given us on the right side some options there. This is a little bit large, so if you do run into this option, just click on the zoom drop-down menu here and hit fit slide, and this will shrink it down so that it fits within the slide. You can also go smaller. Sometimes it's easier to see the entire slide here and have some extra space on the side, and this helps with animation. So let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to get rid of this drop down here for the bullet points just by selecting it and hitting the delete key, and I'm going to add a shape. And we'll add a shape in here. It's just going to be this square. So what Keynote's really wonderful at is being able to customize your slides and make them visually appealing to others. So if we want this square, it could be an image or anything else, to animate onto the screen, we're going to go up to the top right of the toolbar, click on the Animate tab, and we see we have a Build In, Action, and Build Out tab. So Build In is how this shape is going to animate onto the screen. So I'm going to add an effect for this. There's a whole bunch of options here that you can use. Let's use a goofy one. Let's go and do a flame. Notice we see the animation there with that shape there animating onto the screen. So that's our build in. And action is how it moves, or kind of during the slide, how it changes. So we're going to add an effect here. Most of the time you might be moving this or fading it in or out. You could rotate it. So let me just do a simple move. Notice it moved from left to right. I'll just move this down, and I can hit the plus to create another move. So let's move it over to the side here. And then I'm going to create one more move. Let's move it over to the left side. And even there, you can see it put it off to the side. This is why I like to make the zoom a little bit lower so I can see around the slide as well. And then for my last move here, I'm going to change the opacity, which I can't do here on the slide. So I'll go over on the side here into the inspector. And we're going to change that opacity down to 25%, kind of make it fade out a little bit. And then that's our action. So that's how it can move around the screen, change. And then I'll do a build out to have it shrink away. We'll just have it dissolve, completely fade away from the screen. So that's how you can animate things. If we hit the preview button, it'll show us what it's going to do for this specific option, in this case, the build out. But if I wanted to see the entire slide in action, I'm going to go up and hit the play button to see this slide. So I didn't add any text, so there's no text on there, but if I hit the right arrow key, I'm now navigating through each of those steps. I did not time it, so each of these has to be triggered. So I'll hit the arrow key again to go to the next slide, and we can see it's moving around there. And now there's our opacity change, kind of fades to the background. If I hit the right again, that square completely fades out. And then that's going to be the end of the presentation. So if I hit the right arrow key again, we go back to our initial editing here. So that's kind of an overview of the animation options that you have inside of Keynote. As you can see, it's very simple. There's not too much you have to do to be able to animate. It can be a little tricky getting started, but once you're in it, it's pretty straightforward. What can get tricky is when you have many animations like this for one object, controlling them. So that's what this little button at the bottom is for, build order. If you click on that, it actually shows us an entire list of all the different animations we did with this object on this specific slide. And we could change the order here just by dragging up or down. And we can also choose how each one of these starts. So before I had to actually click the key every time I wanted the square to move around, but I can actually do this automatically after the previous build. So in this case, I'll do automatically after build 5. I'll delay it by a second. And I'm going to do the same thing for each of these. So we'll do a half a second for that one. I'm just changing each of these to after the previous build. And you can see how it's connecting them there. And cool, so that looks pretty good. Let's preview each of these. Notice how I'm not clicking anything. It's just automatically going through each one of those moves there. And with the fade out, it delayed it by a second and then faded away. So you can go through and really time out these various moves and animations. So that's just an overview of one area of Keynote, being able to animate using the inspector. There are many other features built into Keynote, which you can find through the menu bar at the top or by going through the various inspectors. I would also recommend checking out the preferences, because they have options in here to customize how these documents are going to show up and actually be presented. And you can work with multiple displays. You can even use your iPhone or another remote to control these presentations. So some cool features there inside of Keynote. And then the third and final app here is Numbers, which is just for creating spreadsheets. So these are a few of the options that they have there. And similar to Pages, we see a template chooser with different categories. And I'll just scroll through each of these so you can see some of the options. This is a very good option for budgeting if you're working on production, and also scheduling. They have some calendar options that actually work really well for you to be able to see and plan out a future production that you might be working on. So just want to show the basics here. I'm going to go into the charting basics. It's very similar to Pages. The difference is this app is really designed around data and working with tables and charts. So with anything that you have in here, with these templates, you'll see you have a page here very similar, but at the top we have our different tabs up here to switch between the various sheets that we have. So go through each of these templates because you can play with all the different charts that are available. You can just double click on a pie chart, for example, select a specific section of that pie, specific piece. You can change it, customize what data you're looking to highlight specifically, and using the inspector, the options on the right here, you can go through and really customize the way these charts appear on the screen. If you want to actually create some new data, you can hit the plus to create a new sheet here, and we get a table based on the template that you chose. That's what the color code is going to come from, or you can customize it on the right. But if you go through here and put in some data, I'm just going to put in a couple numbers here. We can then turn these numbers into a chart with just a few clicks. We can select the data we want to put into the chart. So in this case, I'm just going to choose those couple numbers. And then at the top, I'm going to click on the chart button. And you see a list of the charts that are available. And in the previous couple sheets there that we looked at, there were some of the 2D charts. But the 3D charts can be helpful as well, just to make some of your data stand out a little bit further. So in this case, you can see some of the color code options. So let's choose this one here, and we'll just do chart here. And like it's shown in the middle here, you can rotate this around, which can take just your flat data being 2D and make certain areas stand out, which is a nice way to highlight that data. And then the last thing I want to show you here with numbers, and this can be done in other apps as well. If you go into your media, say with photos as an example, you can actually select the photo and drag this onto the chart itself. And notice how it's put that picture into the actual chart and animated that. So you don't have to settle with just some of the built-in color code options. You can really use any image you want and drop those in, which this can be helpful. You could go through and have a different product for these different kind of data points depending on what they're trying to highlight, and that can help highlight exactly the data you're trying to share to others. So that is Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, just kind of a quick overview and some of the features that they have. Don't be afraid to go into these apps and go up to the help menu. You'll get some really detailed options in here. Even things like numbers, it's really big on the formulas and functions that you have. So you can actually go in here and get like basically every piece of information you could want on the functions that are inside of numbers and that are available for you. They even give you examples and notes. So the documentation on these apps is very dense and are very detailed, but actually very easy to kind of understand. So it may seem dense at first, but if you read through it and you do a little bit of research, you can really learn a lot about these apps and even the functions that are just inside of numbers. So try them out. If there's a specific question you have, as always, just put it in the comments below or send an email to finalcutprohelp@me.com. And we will be posting a few more videos for this month, and then we're going to be done with the macOS tips for a while unless there's something specific you'd like to see. Make sure to subscribe. We'll be going live on the 1st of this coming month and showing off some of the new features of the new version of Final Cut Pro 10.